What is up, Big 12 Nation? We are back once again. Now I'm back. There we go. Got TCU basketball on the TV, and I am here with you to talk some Big 12 football. Big day today in Big 12 football, and we have new schedules officially out. We'll do a little bit of musing about that, and then most of the show is going to be dedicated to, you guessed it, climb trusting. It's our West Virginia postmortem today. Got an exciting guest for you, but thank you so much for joining me here on the Biggest 12. You can see we got the West Virginia theming going on today, going with the yellow banners. I got the West Virginia hat ready to go, the blue background for whenever we got two faces on here talking. We're trusting the climb here today. Thank you so much for tuning in here to your favorite Tuesday night content and keeping one eye on basketball and one eye on the Biggest 12. I'm your host, of course, Clint Foster. What are you doing if you have not subscribed to the show already? Stop everything and hit that subscribe button. Like us, share us, subscribe to us. You know what to do. This is the YouTube game, man. You know how to do it. Okay, so subscribe to at Big 12 VOCFB. We're here every Tuesday night. And if you are of the Mountaineer persuasion, you know you got to already be tuning in on Thursday nights to as well. No relation, but he's my bosom brother just the same. We got tons of great stuff on the Big 12 Voice of College Football Network, my show, Joey's show, lots of other great stuff. You don't want to miss any of it. Subscribe. Okay, so let's spend a little bit of time talking about this schedule, okay? The very nice thing is that, seeing as how we've only gotten two postmortems out of the way, that being TCU and Kansas State, everybody that I have on to talk about their team in the future here is now going to be able to look at their schedule and actually make some real educated guesses about things. So I think it's only fair that I take a little bit of time while we wait for our guest to join us to talk about the TCU schedule and what I have perceived from that. I got to admit to you, I'm pretty happy with it overall. I don't have a whole lot of complaints. Usually it's very easy to feel like, it seems like more often than not as a TCU fan, you're always saying to yourself, oh man, we got completely screwed by the schedule. What happened? I like this schedule. I think that the hardest games on the schedule are spread out pretty well. September could be challenging just because you look at UCF, most likely is going to be very solid again with KJ Jefferson. SMU always gives us their Super Bowl performance, and it's at SMU. This is going to be the last SMU game for the foreseeable future, so that's going to be a tough one. And Kansas is one of the teams to beat in the conference, if you ask me personally. So it's a little bit of a rough September, but overall, things line up very nicely for the Frogs. Most likely eyeing a 2-0 start here with at Stanford. That'd be a fun one to try to make it out to if it wasn't on a Friday. At Stanford and then Long Island University, likely starting 2-0, and then you really get into the meat there in September. Going to be interesting how that turns out. Like I said, I'm high on Josh Hoover. I think that he's capable of good things if the offensive line comes together with the transfers that we've gotten in. We shall see, though. What I really like about the schedule is the Frogs have a bye week before that game at Utah, that Mountain West reunion with the Utah Utes. That's a very exciting one and going to be a very tough game. So I like having that extra week of rest after the Houston game before that one. And then I like also that we have a bye week before Arizona. Okay, so we've got byes before both of those two Pac-12 teams coming in that we're playing. Both of them are also very good. So I like that a lot. I also like having Baylor and Texas Tech in back-to-back weeks. I know you could say like, hey, well, that's two big emotional rivalry games back-to-back. But, I like having it's exciting as a fan. It's exciting as a fan to have them back-to-back. I mean, now, here's the thing. Baylor should be in rivalry week. I don't know why the Big 12 has gone away from that for TCU, not scheduling Baylor in rivalry week. The only assumption I can make is that we've beaten them so much the last, decade that maybe it's not perceived as intense of a rivalry by people from around the country as it is among Baylor and TCU fans. But c'est la vie. I will tell you this. I'm very excited about this Cincinnati game. My friends and I from college, we always try to go someplace new every single year, and that's the one that we have circled on our calendar. We really want to check out Nippert Stadium in Cincinnati. Going to be a cold one on November 30th. That's that's the end of the year there, but it'd be cool to see a place new. I mean, I never did. I was a fan throughout the Conference USA years, but I never went to Cincinnati for any of those games. So I'm excited to try and make that happen there on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. But what do you think of the chat? Does this change your opinion of how the Frogs season will end up? Are you still seeing it 7-8 wins being a very, very good season? Let me know what you're thinking, okay? And then we'll get into West Virginia here soon enough. Let's see who is in the chat. Okay, Devil Frogs here. Okay, if not Baylor, then BYU should be TCU's rivalry component. I totally agree with you there. And, especially if they're not going to keep Tech as a year in, year out game, which is just criminal. I mean, why? Because Tech would be another great rivalry week game for the Frogs. That game is always bananas. There's always something crazy happening, even if it is a blowout. It's some sort of historic blowout, scoring 82 points. But usually it is down to the wire, no matter how good both teams are. But yeah, I'm very excited to have that BYU rivalry back. And, a little bit bummed that they're not on the schedule this year. But yeah, in my opinion, what are the best rivalry games in the Big 12? Ooh, that's a good one. That's a good question. Well, obviously I'm biased. I think that TCU and Baylor, there's a lot of good, clean hate there between those two schools, and that's very fun. And, it's exciting for me beating Baylor all the time. It may not be exciting for outsiders looking in. I mean, BYU-Utah immediately jumps to mind. That is a killer rivalry. I'm so excited to be in the same conference as both of those teams again and to force them to play. Love that game. Always hotly contested. Let me think if I can think of any others off the dome. Farmageddon is a blast. I mean, you can't get any better than that Snow Bowl that they had this last season. And that might about round it out, I guess. I've always, kind of been peripherally aware of Arizona State, but I've never really, dug into it all that hard outside of that's a rivalry game on the NCAA football game, and I can play it, So it'll be interesting to watch that more as a active observer in the Big 12. Those are really the ones that jump to mind. I mean, I would love to say Kansas and Kansas State, but that's another one that's just been so lopsided year in and year out. But I am so hyped about this conference, y'all. This is going to be such a freaking fun conference every single year, and it's going to be wide open way more than it's not. You're going to have several teams that are jockeying for conference championship opportunities. Very, very exciting. Okay, we got some Mountaineers in the chat today. Hello, Tim. Hello, Joey. Good to have y'all here for the Climb Trusting Hour. Hopefully y'all will be excited. Okay, so he is now spoiled in the chat. Coos is going to be my guest for this show. So, get fired up, Mountaineer fans. This is going to be a good one. We're going to have Coos on here to talk Mountaineers. I'll go ahead and remove this schedule right there. But yeah, my thoughts are I'm feeling pretty good about it. Feeling pretty good. Yes, Del Frog. That's what I'm talking about. 11-1, play for a Big 12 title. Yeah, sign me up. Though, I mean, I'm a homer. I'm just gonna tell you, y'all ought to know that about me. And I'm sure by August I'll be really in my overconfident mode where it's like you really convince yourself that, oh yeah, we can actually win all of these games. But this feels like one of those seasons. TCU always does the best. It feels like we always, with the exception of the Rose Bowl season, we always have our best seasons coming off of bad seasons. Without exception, right? 2005 is one that comes to where we won the Mountain West, and this was coming off of a season where we didn't make a bowl game. 2014 comes off a season where we didn't make a bowl game. Everybody's sleeping on Josh Hoover. I don't know, man. I don't know. I'm just saying. We'll see how things come together. All righty, so let's get to Climb Trustin'. Here he is, the man, the myth, the legend, building Mountaineers. How are you, Coos?
I'm great. Clint, how are you?
I'm so great. I'm glad we're finally able to do this. This is something that we've bandied back and forth several times. Like, oh, we need to go on each other's shows. We need to do this whole thing. I'm excited to have you on here. This is a Mountaineer dedicated show.
I can see that.
Yes. We've got the blue and yellow. We've got the Mountaineer hat on.
I love the hat.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm missing the fake beard with this hat that I usually wear. But we're just Climb Trusting today. So
hold on. I have to get a hat too. Hold on.
Okay, yeah. We got to get you all decked out there. Joey, you're already in overconfident mode. Perfect. I love it. Hey, there we go. That's a great hat. That's a great
Thank
hat.
you.
I love that one.
I should have grabbed the coonskin hat, but that's okay.
Ah, yes. Missed opportunity. Absolutely missed opportunity. Well, Coos, how are you doing today, first of all?
I'm doing well. I
Yeah.
can't complain too much, man. It's wintertime here in West Virginia, so a little cold outside, a little snow coming down as we speak. But other than that, man, life is good.
Good. I love to hear it. We've kind of in Texas, we've kind of moved out of our 2 weeks of winter, and we're now in a false spring where it's 40 in the morning and 72 in the afternoon, and it's probably going to freeze again. We'll just see what.
Yeah, I'm flipping you an imaginary bird.
Yeah. The thing about Texas weather is you just kind of wait around a couple of days and it'll change if you don't like it.
I got you.
So, Coos, I'm going to start off with you the same
Mhm.
way I've started off on all of these postmortems. If you had to assign a letter grade to West Virginia's 2023 season, what would you give the Mountaineers?
B plus
B.
actually. B
Okay.
plus.
All right. Defend your answer. Why a B plus?
Well, I can't go A because they didn't. To me, an A is a conference championship appearance or something, in that along those lines. So I can't go with an A. I can't go with just a B because they won. And if they'd had a winning season, lost their ball game, I'd probably say B. But they won their ball game, so I'm bumping it to a B plus. 9-win season after being picked to finish dead last in the league.
Yeah.
Pretty good season in my book. So I'm going B plus.
Yeah, I mean, and that's fair coming from a fan. Like I tend to be more critical of my own squad for sure, but I look to this West Virginia season. You especially think relative to expectations going in, this was an easy A for me because, like you said, so many people had them picked dead last in the conference, a conference that had Cincinnati and Baylor in it, and Houston, and all of these new teams that struggled. And then you get your coach covered in mayonnaise at the end of the year. That bumps it up to an A plus to me. This is
well, you count that now. That probably does bump it up a little bit. Yeah.
Right. I mean, does the Big 12 have the best possible bowl tie-ins, or do we not? I mean, I think.
Yeah, I mean they did this year.
Yeah, goes without saying.
The Pop-Tarts Bowl really took the. I think they took the lead there at the end with the best bowl game, man. That was awesome.
Yes, the Pop-Tart Bowl. Oh my God,
They do it right, man.
They really do. That's what college football is all about. An anthropomorphic Pop-Tart being devoured by the winning team. Absolutely. Okay, so are you still trusting the climb? Where are you at on West Virginia's coach?
I need to see him do it at least one. I need to see him do it again. 1 year to me can be, is this an anomaly? Is it a one-off, or are we seriously on a climb now? That's what I want to see. I'm happy. I'm optimistic, but I'm not quite all the way there yet.
Okay, that's interesting to hear because I feel a lot of people really changed their tune on Neil Brown over the course of the year. I mean, so many people had him on the hot seat here, even after that Penn State game, which I thought West Virginia looked really solid, all things considered, in that Penn State game. But yeah, interesting thoughts there. So I feel like a lot of reason for optimism moving forward. Seems like you're a little cautiously optimistic. Maybe
that's a great way to put it. Yeah, I got burned the year before last by being too optimistic. So I'm trying to be more reasonable.
Okay. I admire you for that. I admire you for that. Absolutely. Okay, Joey's chiming in about Neil Brown. He says, I agree with Coos, 1 more year, but I don't see that being a problem. Okay, so I know that Joey has mentioned he's feeling very good about West Virginia in 2024. What are your kind of early reasons for positive thinking going into this next season?
Well, I mean, we lose Zach Frazier, who's could end up being a first or second round draft pick. He's apparently moving up the draft boards as we speak. We're losing him at the center spot. It's a big loss. We're losing our right tackle, but we have a left tackle back who's also going to play on Sundays. We basically have 3 of our 5 starters back on the offensive line. We have a 4th guy back who has some starting experience at the offensive line. We have, our 6 and 7 guys also have experience. We have some young talent there. We're bringing back, obviously, our starting quarterback who's going to be a senior.
That's big.
We're bringing back all but one of our receiving core, pretty much, that as far as those that produced. And we're young. It's a young, talented team, and I think that's good. And obviously that backfield with C.J. Donaldson, Jaheim White are also back.
Yeah.
So offensively, this team should really be clicking on all cylinders in 2024.
Yeah, ton of reason for optimism with the offense. I mean, I love Garrett Green. That kid is a competitor. CJ Donaldson is great as well. Yeah, I look at this West Virginia schedule, and it's hard for me if I'm a West Virginia fan not to feel optimistic about this. Let me pull it up so we can look at it together now that it is officially official, and we know where these games are falling. So you got the same two big games in non-conference that every West Virginia fan loves to see there. You got Pitt, eat poop, and you got Penn State on there. But what were your initial takeaways looking at this schedule, Coos?
Yeah, I like the schedule. It's a tough one. I mean, we have, if you look at there in the middle of, obviously you've got our non-con schedule. That kind of speaks for itself, right? 2 out of 3, two Power 5 opponents in the first 3 games. Penn State arguably could end up being ranked in the top 10, at least top 15, probably preseason. Pitt's the big rival game, but you look at the Big 12, you got Kansas, Oklahoma State, Iowa State, Kansas State, Arizona. 5 of the 6 teams that are picked to be at the top of this league, we play them all back to back to back to back to back.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's a brutal gauntlet there.
Yep, that will, to me, really tell the tale of this season for West Virginia.
Yeah, it's also kind of a bummer that you open conference with them. You'd ideally, if you're going to have a gauntlet like that, I prefer to have it kind of backloaded where, of course you run the risk of, we may be dealing with injuries, but ideally you're hitting your stride by that point in the season. You're playing your best ball. There's no learning curves for younger guys. So yeah, that is a difficult one, but you do have the benefit of getting some of those. I mean, at Oklahoma State is rough. That Oklahoma State is a very, very tough place to play. It's extremely uncomfortable as a visiting team, but I think it is nice that you at least have Kansas State and Iowa State at home. Yeah, so that's
and Kansas.
Yeah, I mean, and Kansas will be playing in Arrowhead, I believe, all year.
Right,
but it's not like they're going to pack the house, or at least I wouldn't expect them to. So it's not like you're playing the Chiefs there. Yeah. It's not like that kind of atmosphere. But then you, of course, you do have a very I wouldn't say easy, but you got a more manageable back end of the schedule. November is going to be a good time to kind of get your feet back under you after taking a couple of haymakers potentially. I mean, bowl game is a given to me. What to you is a good season for West Virginia? What are you expecting in 2024?
Expecting would be 8 wins.
Okay.
8 to 9 wins. A good season is 10 wins.
Okay.
Well, let me back up. A good season would be 9, at least 9 or 10 wins.
Yeah, so like if you take 3 of those 5, I guess. Let's see. Where are the 10? If we close out 4-0, right? I'm assuming that's in the 10. And then take 3 of those 5, that's 7. Albany's 8, and then beat Penn State and Pittsburgh.
Beat Pitt. That would be 9, right? Or 8.
That'd be 9 if you beat Pitt, and 10 if you beat Penn State.
Yeah, that's the 9. 10's gonna be tough. 10's gonna be really tough.
Yeah. Now, but also too, I mean, you get
it's doable. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's doable. It's doable, but it's gonna be extremely tough.
Yeah, it's wow. There's so many. I mean, you mentioned it. You just look at the schedule and you see 5 teams that are immediately in contention for this conference championship. Also throw in Utah. I would also throw in West Virginia into that mix. Maybe even UCF with KJ Jefferson. That's 7 teams. Right?
Some people will say Colorado needs to be in the conference. I'm not there yet.
Yeah, I'm not there yet. Maybe if Travis Hunter plays every position on the field all at the same time, maybe. But yeah, I mean, this is a very deep league. It's not the heights of the conference aren't as good as the elite teams in other conferences, but the parity is going to be so much fun. Who is your early picks to end up in Arlington?
I think, me personally, I would say Oklahoma State. Because of Mike Gundy and Ollie Gordon both being back. I know Alan Bowman's back. I'm not that impressed with Alan Bowman, but he's a good quarterback. He's a good game manager. He's not going to make the big mistakes. So I like Oklahoma State.
So.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, his grandkids, he can play in front of his grandchildren.
Yeah.
And then
why hadn't he transferred to BYU at this point? He'd fit in with all of those guys.
And it's hard not to pick Utah. I mean, Kyle Whittingham is just – he's one of the top coaches in college football, and he wins year in, year out. And, hard to say that Arizona won't be in the hunt, but they breaking in a new coach is always tricky, and you're doing it while also going into a new league. So I'm not quite as high on there. I do think Arizona has a shot to be really good, but I'm not going to necessarily pick them to win the conference at this point.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, they have a lot of talent. It's a good squad, but yeah, the whole new coach wrinkle. How's that all gonna play out? I'm really high on Kansas, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I am too.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you, I think losing Andy Kotelnicki could potentially hurt them more than people may think. I think he's one of the best offensive minds in football.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think losing him now they're bringing in Grimes from Baylor, I think, who's a good OC in his own right, but he's not Andy. No offense, but he's not Andy Kotelnicki. I mean,
yeah.
So we'll see, but I'll be anxious to see how that impacts them. But they do still have Jalen Daniels. They do still have Devin Neal. So
yeah,
they're going to be good.
They will. They'll be good. Iowa State will be good again. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Well, I was just talking about the TCU schedule before you jumped on. Care to give it a look with me?
Sure.
And share.
I was trying to listen, but I wasn't able to catch it all. So yeah, I'd love to.
All good. Okay, so let me pull it up here again because I'd already exited out of it. Okay, I like the way that our schedule shook out because I think that our toughest games September is going to be tough for us, but I think our hardest games are pretty well spaced out, and we also get bye weeks before Utah and before Arizona. I like that a lot, and we have Oklahoma State at home. You look at this TCU schedule. Tell me your takeaways.
Well, I mean, I see. You've got Utah and Arizona both on the schedule, which is exciting as a fan. If I was a TCU fan, I'd like that, but also it would also make me nervous.
I do like that we at least have bye weeks before.
Yeah, and you have to go to Utah, and Arizona's coming to Fort Worth, so at least you get Arizona at home. That's good.
Right.
I don't see K-State on there.
Nope. We avoid K-State and we avoid Iowa State, which I'm very happy with that.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think that's a manageable schedule for TCU, to be honest.
Yeah, I think so too. And I like the way it's spaced out. I'm not expecting Big 12 championship contender just because there's so many good teams in the league, but I think we're really primed for a bounce back year. I think I could very easily see us winning 8 games with this schedule. And I'd be very happy with that. That's proof that the first year with Sonny wasn't a fluke, and we're on the right track. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah, I mean, you got Houston, Cincinnati; those should both be wins. Cincinnati. I'm not saying Cincinnati's going to be as bad as they were last year, but I still think they're a year away from competing for a conference championship.
You think they're a year away?
Yeah, at least one, maybe 2.
Oh, you may be something I don't know.
No, at least I'm trying to be nice.
Oh,
at least a year away. Let me rephrase it. I still think but they do have some talent, but until they get their quarterback situation straightened out, I'm not sure. And I know they got a guy coming in, but I don't know much about him. I see one loss probably to Oklahoma State. I see a loss to Utah. I tell you, it's not out of the realm of possibility, depending on. And I don't know anything about TCU and what they have portal wise, as as far as losing and coming in.
We got like 1,000 defensive backs in the portal and several interior offensive linemen, which is what we really needed. We got like 2 or 3 offensive linemen in the portal, and a couple of really good. We got like 2 transfers from Notre Dame. One really good receiver, and the other one was an edge, I believe. And bro, I'm honestly, because it's so hard to keep track of.
It is hard. It is hard. The receiver, you guys needed the receiver help for sure.
Yes, and we'll have Savion Williams back. And I think we got another tight end.
What's your backfield look like?
So that's all going to be new guys. It's where we got Cam Cook coming back, who is a backup. Amani Bailey's going to the league. But I'm really excited, actually. We have a couple of freshmen coming in, 2 freshmen, one from Decatur, which is close to Fort Worth, and another one from East Texas that both should be really good. As much as I liked Amani Bailey and I loved the ferocity that he ran with, he was like a lightning bolt, but he didn't have the best vision. He just hit where the hole was supposed to be at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and then whether it was there or not, that's just where he was going.
Right.
I'm going to be excited. I think, I'm not full on running backs don't matter, But I think that in a lot of cases, running backs are kind of interchangeable. And
I'm with you.
If you get a young guy in there who's fast,
I think it depends on the scheme. I mean, for West Virginia, it matters because that's our key to our offense. For a team like TCU, I'm with you. I think it matters a little less because Sonny Dykes likes to throw the ball around a lot. And,
quarterback is way more important for us.
Yeah.
And so my mom's actually watching the show today. She's the defense. We need to fix the defense. Fix the defense. That's the other big thing, right? We got rid of Joey Gillespie after another season finale with over 60 points allowed. Bringing in Andy Avalos from Boise State. Still running a 3-3-5, but apparently he's more aggressive with bringing pressure, bringing blitzes. Never has less than 4 guys rushing. So I'm like,
good deal.
My ears.
That'll be interesting to see how that pans out. What and have they settled on a quarterback there, or is there going to be a competition?
I mean, I'm sure there'll be some form of competition, but all signs point to Josh Hoover. If it's not Josh Hoover, then we have Ken Seals coming in from Vanderbilt as a transfer, who was a quarterback at Weatherford High School, which is, again, very close to Fort Worth. But I think he's coming in to be a backup and probably push Josh Hoover. I don't know that necessarily he would supplant him. And then Haas Haney, he's the quarterback of the future that all TCU fans are very excited about, again, from a high school very close by. I just don't think he'll be ready quite yet. But yeah, it's I'm interested also to know from you, Coos, as a West Virginia fan and as someone who's watched the 3-3-5 a lot longer than I have, convince me that it's a good defense. Convince me that it can work and actually stop people.
The key is you have to have your front. You have to have somebody up front. You have to have a nose tackle that can take up blockers. Okay. You have to have a really good nose tackle for it to be a good defense because you need a nose tackle that's good enough to take up 2 blockers really to give your linebackers room. And you have to be aggressive. The 3-3-5 defense, you're not going to get a lot of pressure with 3 guys. So you have to have good play from the linebacker spot, and you have to have an elite pass rusher, in my opinion, for a 3-3-5. And West Virginia hasn't really been running a true 3-3-5. They've been running more of a 4-2 type, but still it's kind of an hybrid, kind of a mix, I guess. But they've had inconsistent play from what they call the bandit position, which is supposed to be an edge rusher, and that's been it's been part of the issue of West Virginia. It's one of the reasons they've given up so much pass yardage.
Yeah,
we blame the secondary mostly, and that's been a part of it. But they also haven't gotten a lot of help from pass cover or pass rush, right? So for a 3-3-5 to work, in my opinion, you need an elite edge rusher that can get pressure on the quarterback. And you need really good linebacker play.
I mean, but that can be said of any defense. You have to have pass rush.
Right.
I've only seen one defense in my life that was able to be successful without a pass rush, and that was TCU in 2013 because our secondary was so elite that they would often force coverage sacks, right?
Yeah.
And even then, that was a bad team that the defense just managed to keep us in games when the offense was absolutely anemic. That defense, I feel like that's one of the most slept-on defenses in all of TCU history. Is 2013.
When it was at West Virginia, I hated it. I'll be honest with you because it felt like the middle of the field was always open. Tight ends used to absolutely eat West Virginia's defense up. If we played a team with a good tight end, they always. I mean, the 2012 Texas Tech game, Jay Samaro's still running. I think from that game in 2012. I mean, they ate us alive. And that was a problem a lot of times when West Virginia played teams with good tight ends. But then we've also had some years where it was extremely successful. So I don't know, man. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the Jimmies and Joes. You know what I mean? Regardless of what scheme you're in, if you don't have the right guys, it don't matter.
And then don't matter, yeah.
Tony Gibson, our ex-defensive coordinator who ran the 3-3-5, he's had really good success at North Carolina State with it. John Heacock's had good success with it at Iowa State, or at least a version of it. So, I mean, there are coaches out there who are doing well with the 3-3-5. So, I've kind of changed my opinion on it slightly. But I know when West Virginia ran it, it used to drive me insane.
Yeah. And that's most TCU fans. 3-3-5 is like a dirty word to them right now because we're used to Gary Patterson. We're used to aggressive. We're used to shut down defense in his best years. And, even the magical season that was 2022, defense made stops when it absolutely had to. but the bend but don't break is very antithetical to the whole TCU fan mindset.
Here's the problem with in my opinion, was a 3-3-5. When teams first started running it, like West Virginia, for example, there weren't many teams running it at the time, so it was different. It was harder to prepare for, right?
Yeah.
Now almost everybody in the Big 12 is running a 3-3-5, and even teams outside the Big 12 are now running it. So it's not hard to prepare for anymore. And I think that's made it maybe less successful in some regards, unless you've got a coach who's really good at scheming things differently and putting wrinkles in and all that kind of stuff. And again, it comes down to the Jimmies and the Joes as well.
Well, we talked about the West Virginia offense going into 24. Let's talk more on the West Virginia defense. What are your expectations for the West Virginia defense? Is there anything that you'd like? I thought West Virginia's defense in the TCU game I saw, it impressed me. It looked great last year, I thought. Is there anything that you're looking for them to improve on? Any thing that you're kind of worried about going into next year? What are your thoughts on West Virginia's defense?
Yeah, I mean, the TCU game and really the first 4 or 5 games of the season, the defense was great. I mean, West Virginia beat Pitt with defense. They beat Texas Tech with defense, and they beat TCU with defense, I thought. And then for whatever reason, the rest of the season there was a switch that flipped, and the defense became porous, and the offense started having to outscore people. Now, there were some injuries. West Virginia had several guys go down with injuries on the defensive side of the ball, and there wasn't a lot of depth on defense last year. A lot of that was due to injuries to backups that had already occurred, and some of that was just there was a couple of positions they just didn't have a lot of bodies, or at least a lot, bodies that were good enough to put out there. So that hurt West Virginia later in the season. In some games, now the bowl game came around, they looked pretty good again. But what I like about the defense going into 24 is they were able to keep just about everybody, with the exception of a couple guys. We did lose one defensive lineman to the portal and one safety to the portal. We're losing both of our starting corners to graduation, and we're losing our best linebacker, Lee Koba, to graduation. But we have a lot of young talent at the linebacker position, especially. And our D-line last year was going 10-11 deep anyway, so that loss on the defensive line actually, let me back up. We lost 2 guys off the D-line. We lost one after kind of unexpectedly late in the portal window. But anyway, we still have a lot of bodies there and quite a bit of depth at the D-line position, so that makes me feel good about it. The youth at the linebacker spot, or I say youth, but it's experienced youth at the linebacker spot in most cases, because they were forced into action last year. We had 2 freshmen that were forced into action last year that are now experienced, right? So they'll be ready to go. And the defensive secondary, they went out and made a lot of moves in the portal, brought in a lot of guys in the secondary, some really talented guys that West Virginia was able to beat out some really high-level Power 5 schools to get. Guys like T.J. Crandall, the cornerback out of Colorado State, Aiden Garnes, a corner. He's from Duquesne. It's an FCS school, but he's really talented and has several Power 5 schools.
You find a lot of gyms doing that. I much prefer bringing guys, transferring them up from G5 or lower versus taking a guy who flamed out at an Alabama and bringing him in. In my experience, you get a lot better talent from those lower classifications, than from fellow P5. But yeah, keep going.
Well, and you get guys that are hungry. That's what Coach Brown likes to talk about. You got guys that want to prove themselves, at the higher level. But those are just 2 off the top of my head. There's a couple more that they've added as well that names are just not coming to me at the moment, but I'm like you. It's hard to remember them all, but they have added a lot of bodies in the secondary. They've added a couple good bodies at the pass rushing spots. And here's a change that TCU, which I know TCU and West Virginia doesn't play, but for those who just like to watch Big 12 football and will watch West Virginia, they'll notice West Virginia is moving away from the 4-2-5 defense. At least that's their intent. A lot of it will come down to personnel and injuries, but they're wanting to go to a true 3-4 defense next year. So they went out and added some bodies that can play that stand-up outside linebacker spot.
Interesting.
And hopefully get more pressure on the quarterback next season. So that's they also brought in a coach just to coach outside linebackers, which they didn't have before. Our defensive coordinator was doing that on his own. So it'll be interesting to see how different the defense looks in 24 versus 23 with this new scheme.
Yeah. All right. So we're both seeing changes next year on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, one last thing for you before we wrap a pretty little bow around this. Devil Frog had asked if you'd be attending TCU at West Virginia. Obviously, we're not on each other's schedule this year, but I'm curious, have you ever made it out to Fort Worth for a game?
I have not made it to Fort Worth. My goal is to eventually visit every Power 5 state or every Big 12 stadium.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to do being so far away from, it requires a flight.
Yeah. You're the one school that's very, very difficult.
Yeah. I mean, I did make it to UCF last year.
Okay.
Orlando's it's not a hard trip to, convince yourself to go on. Mm-hmm. And then, and it's within driving distance. And then, I'll probably try to make it to Cincinnati this year for obvious reasons. It's also, it's even closer. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, I mean, I hope to eventually get there, but time will tell, obviously, when I'm able to do that.
Well, you let me know when you're here. We'll treat you right, give you some barbecue and Tex-Mex.
Oh, man, Texas, nothing like Texas barbecue, man. I love it.
Yes, I love to hear that. So
wait, do you have a Dickey's barbecue there?
Oh yeah, we have Dickey's. Oh. We also have local joints. We got local joints.
That's fine too. Dickey's we have a Dickey's here, man, and it's my favorite. It's about 45 minutes from me, but every time I'm in that town, I always eat there because I love it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of good barbecue around here. At Heim Barbecue in Fort Worth. Jonah Heim, Travis Heim, friend of the show. Mm-hmm. Okay. He makes these bacon burnt ends that are absolutely unreal. Bacon burnt ends and green chili mac and cheeses. Oh, it's so freaking good.
Sounds great.
Yeah. So speaking of traveling to away games, you said you're going to Cincinnati. My friends and I, we're thinking about going to TCU's game against Cincinnati on November 30th. Are we totally stupid for doing that? Is it going to be like insane cold? Or
I don't know. I don't. You said November 30th. It could be. It could be. Yes. It will be cold, more than likely.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm always down for a new experience. Perfect. Well, Coos, thank you so much for joining us here on the show today. Anything that you want to plug for the people?
Just if you guys want to hear about West Virginia football, but I don't just cover West Virginia. I do cover a lot about conference realignment on the channel over at Coos' Corner, by the way. And I try to cover as much of the Big 12 as I can, hoping to do more of that in the future, just Big 12 as a whole. And then, but yeah, mainly West Virginia. Again, it's Coos' Corner on YouTube. I also have a basketball channel where I have a partner where Mountaineer Paul and I talk West Virginia basketball. Not a lot to talk about right now over there, but not great times right now in West Virginia in the hoop world. But hey,
it's tough in this conference, man. It's tough. It is,
especially when you're having an interim coach and half of your team injured most of the season.
Yeah, it's been said before, and it bears repeating. The Big 12 in basketball is what the SEC thinks it is in football, right?
Yeah,
everybody's insane. Everybody's elite. It's tough conference. Tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
Got one eye on the Frogs and Texas Tech now, actually.
But yeah, and I also have a website, coosascorner.com, that I've been trying to get off the ground too. So I'd appreciate if you guys would come check out the blog articles and everything that we have over there too.
Yeah, check out Coos. Also, do check out Mountaineer Paul. That's another part of the show. He's got a lot of great stuff going on.
Absolutely. Mountaineer Paul talks football.
Yes, Mountaineer Paul talks football. Coos' Corner. Subscribe to all the things. You will not regret it. It's great stuff. Coos, thank you again so much for joining the show. Yes, it was a blast. Everybody, thank you as well for being a part of it. This has been the Biggest 12. You know what to do. Please do subscribe to the show if you haven't already. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Share us with all of your friends and family. Start knocking on doors and have you heard of the Biggest 12? Let me change your life, okay? Subscribe. It's at Big 12 VOCFB. And follow me on Twitter if you don't already, okay? At Clint_Foster55. And subscribe to my YouTube channel at Clint Foster Comedy. I am working on a script right now. It's been taking me several weeks to work on it, but I'm hoping to have it out relatively soon for you, give you all some more chuckles. And do also keep Greg Swaim and his family in your prayers. Wonderful dude and wonderful college football fan who's dealing with he's very much at peace with it, but it's a difficult time, I'm sure, for his family, and we should all be praying for them. Yep. Thank y'all all so much again for joining us. Love you. Hope your team wins. Go Big 12.
Good country roads.